So today what we're going to be doing is an emergency repot and also an emergency propagation on my Bletilla Striata, also known as the Chinese Ground Growing Orchid or the hardy ground growing orchid. And I do have to tell you that this is the hardiest ground growing orchid there is, and I can definitely attest to the fact that this is the most hardiest terrestrial orchid that I know of, and I'll be showing you and I'll also be telling you exactly why. Now, this particular orchid right here has been in this pot for about 3 or 4 years with bare minimum care, and I do have to admit this orchid has had its share of neglect. Now, because this orchid is such a hardy orchid, this still manages to grow and survive. But you guys know, we can be doing a whole lot better than what we've been doing. So we're going to turn over a new orchid leaf, and we're going to do just that by giving this a brand new start. Now, the best time to actually propagate this orchid right here would be in the autumn season, because that is when this orchid goes into its dormancy period. Now, unfortunate for this orchid, we're going to go ahead and do it even though we are still in our winter months, because this orchid right here is struggling severely and we have to move with a sense of urgency. And taking a closer look, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. This right here is an old, decayed, dried up bulb. It is already dead and gone and should have been out of the pot already. And then as we take a closer look over in this area, you can see that it is overly congested. Bulbs are actually growing on top of one another, and as they are, other bulbs are also drying out and dying away. So as you can see right here, this just really needs to get out of this pot. And if we take a closer look at the bulbs right here, we're actually seeing white material that's beginning to grow on the bulbs. And that is some sort of fungal infection that is setting in. So indeed, we need to do a severe cleanup and disinfectant and also repot on these orchids. And as you guys can see, if we look throughout the pot, there are new growths that are beginning to emerge. So we are really pushing the envelope on this one. We're going to see if these are capable of growing, thriving, and surviving, and even blooming for us within the blooming season. We indeed are going to find out exactly how hardy these orchids really are. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove the old growth, the leaves, and also the stem parts of this orchid, because it is no longer necessary for the orchid in its growth, and it's going to go ahead and make the orchid propagation and repot a whole lot easier. And also for easier removal of the bulbs or the corms from the pot, we're going to go ahead and put the actual pot on its side, and we're going to gently press down on the pot, and we're going to do that all the way around, just pressing down gently. That's going to loosen up the soil, the media, and also the corms within the pot, and that's going to also make it easier to remove the corms from the pot. And now it's just a matter of gently removing the actual corms and hoping we can remove it in one clump. And it is really easy. They're coming up in clumps. So, yep, there we go. And there it is right there, fully removed from the pot. Now, as you can see, the actual root ball itself is really quite shallow. So they don't actually grow that deep into the pot. So a shallower pot can also work for something like this. And oh my gosh, do you guys see what I see right here? Take a look. That is an actual nasty slug. So yeah, this really needs to be cleaned up. Now remember when I told you that the bulbs were actually growing one on top of the other? Well, take a look at this. This is actually a wilted, very mushy, very rotted bulb right here. And then here's another bulb that grew on top of that, which is a viable bulb. But then if we take a look, there's a cluster of bulbs that grew on top of that. So bulbs on top of one another. So indeed, it was way overcrowded in that pot, and these really need to be separated out. Please say it is not so. here is another nasty little slug that I found. So they are throughout the actual pot. Okay, and this is quite an easy process right here. We're just going to go ahead and begin to divide them by hand. We're not going to need a knife of any sort. And we're going to divide out the bulbs. And we're also going to find out which bulbs are no longer necessary because they're all rotted out and dead and decayed. And on these, you can actually divide each individual bulb if you want to, because again, these are so hardy that they'll start new growths on each individual bulbs. I'm keeping them together about 2 or 3 to a bulb anyways, just to make it even healthier. And that's just a rule of thumb that I follow for each propagation that I do. And look at there, guys. Isn't this quite an awesome sight right here? Look how many bulbs we were able to salvage from that pot. Indeed, this is going to make for a great propagation project. You guys should know that these actual corms or tubers just have a great ability to multiply. Each initial bulb can create 2 more bulbs, and that's why you commonly will see these in masses of clumps, because they do have great ability to multiply. So I'm very happy with what I found, and I'm very relieved that we are going to repot these. So let's go ahead and clean these up, and then we will be well on our way to having this successfully propagated. And here we go. Okay, so now that we have them all cleaned up, all there is left to do before we go ahead and pot these babies up is, of course, disinfect them with hydrogen peroxide, because as I shown you, it did appear that it had some sort of fungal infection, and we want to go ahead and take care of that issue and make sure that we are disinfecting each bulb. Okay, so now that they are all nice and clean, let's go ahead and take a closer look at them and see exactly how healthy, how scrumptious and delicious these bulbs actually look. Look at all those growth. Oh my goodness, so delicious, guys. I'm telling you, I could just fry them up and saute them with some butter. Yum, yum. Not really, guys, but they do look so awesome, and I'm so happy with all of these growths. Oh, and will you take a look at this little fella right here? Look at this spider bulb of an orchid. And look, this little guy already has 2 growths on it. It just really amazes me at how much energy, how much life, and how much potential these little bulbs have. And let's go ahead and take a closer look at this one particular bulb right here. I know I told you that one initial bulb can grow about 2 other new growths of bulbs, but take a look at this one right here. This one actually has 1, 2, 3, and 4 growths on this one right here. So that is the reason why they can multiply so rapidly, because they can have 2 or even more growths on each bulb. So just imagining how healthy and how many blooms we can actually have in this growth season gets me so excited. Of course, if everything turns out well. So you guys, finger crossed for me, because I am so excited to see exactly how well this will do, especially under so much better condition. And this right here will be the medium that I will be using. And as you can see, it is a soil-based material, very light, very fluffy, and this media is actually going to be easier to dry out, so we're not going to have to worry about soppy, wet conditions for the orchid. This is your regular potting or garden soil media that I am going to be using. Again, it's the lighter, more fluffier type for less water retention. And these two containers right here will be the new pots that these propagated orchids will be potted up in. And as you can see, these are a bit shallower than their initial pot that they came in. And they also have wider mouths. So I do believe this is going to serve them a whole lot better. And because we were able to salvage so many bulbs, more than I expected, I did elect to use 2 pots. I believe that's going to give them sufficient room to grow nicely. As you guys know, they can multiply rather quickly, so we definitely want to give them enough room. So the media is already slightly moist, and I went ahead and filled up the pots part way. And because this pot is the biggest of the two, I want to go ahead and contain the biggest bulbs. The ones with the most growths will be going into this pot to ensure that we do have enough space for them to grow healthy. And the smaller pot right here will contain these smaller bulbs and the ones that don't have any growth on them yet. So now we're just going to take each individual bulb, and then we're just going to go ahead and situate them into the pot. And here we are now with the bulbs situated exactly where I want them to be. And now all there is left to do is fill the pots up with the soil. And there you have it, folks. Our repotting and also our propagation of the Bletilla orchid is complete and done. Now don't worry and don't fret because you no longer see the corms. That's actually the way it should have been in the first place. So when we are potting, ensure that you are putting the actual tubers, the corms or the bulbs, at least an inch or 2 beneath the surface of the media. So that is why you are no longer seeing the corms. That's the way it should be. And as you see, you're not seeing anything here at all. This pot has no growths while this had growths already starting. So we indeed will see the difference in the growths. I'm hoping that we do get some growths in here. I do think we will. Now, you guys will have to let me know exactly what you think the outcome will be for this propagation project. Do you think that this orchid is as hardy as they say it is? And do you think these will come into bloom? And if you guys have propagated these types of orchids, please make sure to let me know exactly how you propagated them and also what were your results. And make sure you post those comments below. You guys already know the more that we know, the more that we can grow. And we do learn a whole lot from you guys and your comments as well. And I'm so hoping that these take well. I'm so hoping that they grow and they bloom. And of course, if they do, I'll do a full out video on them as well because they are so deserving. These are fascinating orchids, so easy to grow. You can grow these directly in your garden, directly in your landscape, or keep them potted up. These have a variety of different temperatures and conditions that they can take, including some freezing temperatures as well. So indeed, these are very hardy orchids with a huge variety of colors to them as well. They are definitely orchids that are well worth having. Very easy to grow, and as a matter of fact, very easy to propagate. And they say that you can actually propagate these from seed pods as well. Yeah, via the seeds. So we don't need any sterilization process with these. These are easy to grow. Again, just a fascinating orchid to have. I thank you guys so much for allowing me to share this information with you, and I'm hoping that you like this video, and I'm hoping that you did learn something new. If you like this video, please be sure to like, share, and also subscribe, and turn on that bell notification button so you will know exactly when I do post a new video. And I sure do thank each and every one of you guys for visiting me here at my garden, and I do hope that you guys visit me here often. As you guys already know, I do truly love and appreciate each and every one of you guys all, and I will see you guys later, and I'll also grow with you guys later as well. Bye bye for now. Mwah.